Hello and welcome back to the AFL Enjoys podcast. My name is Dean, joined as always by the boys, James Matsa, George Sfenda.
We've got to stop doing this, bro. We've got to stop looking each other in the eyes.
Yeah. And I'm jealous.
It's almost getting
Jeez.
romantic at this stage.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you, Georgie.
Next pod, we're looking.
Oh, yeah,
each other
yeah.
as there
You
we
know
go.
I love you, boys.
Just to break it up a
The
bit.
thing
you
is,
know?
because of the way that I'm positioned, it's always easier for me to look at
We're
them.
very close.
We should start.
Yeah,
we should start
true.
like this.
I'm
Actually.
kind of like
Come a bit closer.
I'm on the outer here.
Yeah,
Like,
come
you
a bit
know?
closer, Jimmy.
We are quite close to have such strong eye contact. I'll admit that.
True,
Well, look, today we have one more of our ranking videos. So today what we're doing is top 10 rucks over the last 20 years. The
Yeah.
reason for that, we thought it's a bit hard to just do current ruckman, because if we're talking last 3 years like the other videos were, you're sort of just talking about the same
You're
guys.
stuck on three people. Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
got a few throwbacks in here, and we'll just work our way back from 10 to 1, going in order again. So without further ado, I think, as per tradition, Matsa gets us going once again.
All right, as per tradition, I'll go. Number 10 is a dude who didn't win really any All-Australians, didn't have he was never the best ruckman at any point in his career. But this dude was just a scary dude. He was probably the scariest ruckman, probably the last 20 years, I'd say. And you guys, Dino knows already. He's smiling at me. Who is it, Dino?
Have you got Mummy?
I got the big
The
mummy.
big Mumford.
Mummy at 10, man, just this big boss, man. Like he was fun to watch. You know, I feel like he used to get a lot of bumps. He used to, get a lot of suspensions, but it was part of the package with Mummers, He really held it down for GWS for years.
He was Nankervis before Nankervis.
He was Nake before Nake. Mummy with a nickname like that, he has to make the list. So Mummy at 10 for me.
I like him, man. And the funny thing about Mummy is he kind of resurrected, almost like a mummy. Brought back multiple times from Giants because they needed a ruckman, so they just brought him back.
True, and they kind of taped him up to look like
Yeah.
a mummy as well. You know what I mean?
And then got weirdly caught in a drug scandal at the end of his career. Strange.
What I will say about ruckman is that I just love the fact that they just play forever. So it's almost like they're part of your childhood because they've just been around forever. And I don't know, because of the fact that they don't have to run around the whole ground the whole time at high intensity, they can be really old and still play to a high level. So that's Mummy as well. Look, for number 10, I've got Big Boy McAvoy.
nice.
Okay.
A big boy.
Can't purely just because it sounds cool to say his name. To be honest with you.
Big boy.
We're just picking the best nicknames.
Nah, obviously, at his best, he was quite a good ruckman and key to Hawk's success as well. And I've just got him in number 10. I don't know much to say.
Fair enough, man. It's actually quite funny that you guys mentioned Mumford and McAvoy because they were the two I was fighting over for my 10 slot. And I let Mumford. Just
fair
purely
enough.
because I find him
Fair
more...
enough.
He's more fun to watch. My list, as you'll come to find, is just pure vibes.
I don't have any stats, bro.
I've got
Yes.
not one single stat for any of these guys other than what's fresh in the memory. So, for me, look, the big mummy, just when you think of him, big tackles, follow-up work, a little bit dirty, but that's what you love about the big ruckman. Sometimes they just
Just a little bit dirty.
they throw their
Just
weight
a
around,
little
man.
bit.
Like
Yeah.
this guy, if he could choose violence, he would. And there's something to be said about that, within reason, of course.
He should have been a
Um,
boxer, really.
man.
Can you imagine him as a heavyweight boxer? He's
Well, Bell
No
Chambers,
To the Barry Hall.
Bell Chambers just fought Mooney a few weeks ago.
Mummy. That's Bell Chambers' next fight.
Bell
is
Chambers
Mummy.
beat Mummy.
Ooh,
That'd
that'd
be
be
fun.
sick.
I reckon
Yeah.
Braden Pruce should go there as well.
True.
He's
true.
gotta be a scary player, man.
Well, he's never fit enough to play in the AFL, so at least just chuck him in the boxing ring.
Yeah,
you
if
know?
he's injured anyway.
Yeah, change codes, I reckon, for him.
Fair enough, man.
Uh,
But yeah, so I'll go to my number 9 now. And this one is a shorter career than the rest, but just based on how good he currently is, I had to include him, which is Tim English. So
fair enough.
Oh, okay.
even though he's been only really dominant for a year and probably a half, I think just factoring how good he is, he will achieve more. So for me, it's more like, okay, I see this guy getting 20 plus touches. How many hitouts? Couple goals, couple marks. Like he just stuffs the stat sheet. And he's just better than other guys I was considering. Like he's better than McAvoy. I don't care how long McAvoy played for. Tim English is better.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Um,
he's reached a higher
Already.
level of playing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just had to include him. But yeah, from here on out, everyone else has got a longer career with more accolades. So
Cool.
Fair enough. My number 9, I've got Mumford. So I had him
There you go.
one before you guys. The longevity, the ability to kind of play multiple teams over multiple years. And he's the type of guy, especially in more recent memories with the Giants, when he played, they won. and when he didn't play, they lost. Like that's the influence he had on their team. So that's why I've got him in the top 10.
Nice. So I've kind of done the swap on you. I've got McAvoy at number 9. And
Give him some flowers because I didn't really talk about him much.
yeah, look, with McAvoy, he's part of 2 premierships with the Hawks. And the thing I like about him as well is that he spent a bit of time forward as well and was good there. But also, he played in the defense at one point as well. You know what I mean? Like, this dude was super versatile. So to be able to, hold it down in the ruck and then play, the key position, in the forward line, in the defense when needed, I think that's very valuable. So he goes at number 9, just above above Mumford, rather. So now I'm going to go for my 8. And number 8, I feel like this was a player that you really liked. He used to play for Carlton, but didn't have his peak there.
Sam Jacobs.
Sammy Jacobs, mate. Sammy Jacobs.
Yeah.
So 3 times he was in the All-Australian squad.
Was he?
Yeah, but didn't make it. So not All-Australian team, but he was in the...
He was a gun. He was a gun.
Absolutely, man. Like this dude, as a tap ruckman, was unbelievable, man. And he won 3 showdown medals, which I know those one-game medals aren't the most important things, but I think in that type of game where you've got to be clutch, I don't know who Port's ruckman was at that time. It was probably some scrub. But regardless of that, he came up in the big games and did his job. So Sammy Sauce Jacobs.
I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation because I didn't even think of this guy because I didn't do much research.
Really?
But I'm like, man, no way. Did he make 3 All-Australian great? Like,
look,
Sam
the
squad.
Was
the squads. Yeah.
He was one of those guys where like Matthew Cruiser was the clear number 1 ruck for Carlton, right?
Yeah.
So they got rid of Sam Jacobs for that reason, I believe. And Sam Jacobs had a better career than Cruiser. More so because Cruiser could never get on the park. But, it's like pretty crazy that you had like a pretty good ruckman. And similar to Eddie Betts, goes to Adelaide and finds success in just a much better team.
That's crazy. Yeah, I just didn't think of him at all. I didn't realize he was that good.
Yeah,
Mustn't have been paying attention.
Sauce was that guy, man.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It was between him for like a big saucy. Like I remember in Supercoach at the time, it was like either you had Sauce or you had Goldie. Or you had.
See,
maybe
maybe that's why I missed it because I wasn't playing Supercoach when I was a kid. So
you missed out, bro.
I missed out on the Jacobs era.
Go
Damn
back
it.
in time, man, and start playing.
Bro. Damn it.
Okay, nice. So number 8.
Yes.
Oh, have you done your 8?
That was my 8.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Number 8, I've got a throwback guy that I don't know much about, right? But I've outsourced this pick to the internet and to my dad to try work out, and it's Brendan Lade.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember Lade.
So dual All-Australian, won in the first premiership for Port in 2004, best and fairest in 2006. So I don't remember much. I remember the name, but I don't remember watching him much because I was too young.
Yeah.
But, history says that he was quite good. So he's there for me.
I reckon in 2010, I had him in my Supercoach team. So that's the vague memory. I can just see the Port jersey in the ruck.
There's a part of me that kind of is a piece of history in my mind with Brendan Lade, so I've chucked him in there.
I like it.
Yeah.
Shout out the internet and your dad.
Yes, it was a good one. I like that one.
Beautiful.
Lady.
Well, my one actually at 8 is Brad Oddens.
Oh,
so-
that's a good one, man. I don't have him in there, but
I like Oddens, man.
See, Brad Oddens, for me, my memory is just more as a forward. Like, I can't actually remember watching him and like thinking, oh, this guy's a great ruckman. But he's just a huge bloke. Kicking multiple goals. I did actually check his stats and he's kicked a lot of goals.
A lot of goals. I think he played a bit of forward as well.
Heaps of forward, yeah. But look, 3 premierships. Those Geelong teams obviously probably would have won without him. But in saying that, he was a big part of when they were winning. So, and they probably haven't had as good a ruck since, to be fair. So, in fact, probably almost definitely. So I think, big Braddy Oddens finds a way on my list. And then at number 7, I've got Brodie Grundy.
Nice.
So for me, Grundy, obviously, he's more that modern ruckman. He was probably the first in a while to be like more of a ground level ruckman. The follow-up work is what he was really known for. So, and still is. But at his peak, we can think of this guy getting close to 30 touches, bunch of tackles. Like he was just all over the ground.
He was the man for Collingwood at that time. They gave him $1 million a year for a reason. Like he was such a dominant ruckman.
I thought he was going to be like a generational talent. And he's still a very good ruckman. Probably hasn't hit those peaks, but yeah.
Well, it's because of him as well that people rated someone like Luke Jackson so highly out of the draft. Like usually you wouldn't pick a ruckman that high, but when you look at how dominant Grundy was at the time, you're thinking, geez, this guy's like Grundy, but even more nimble.
Well, the versatile rucks actually have been picked high in the past. Like a Cruiser's number 1. There's other ruckmen that have been picked high because if they have both the athleticism and the ability to follow up their work, then they become such powerful assets to the team, right? So
They become like the fifth midfielder
Yeah.
that certain people have been, coined as.
Yep.
People higher on the list, and we'll get to those.
Nice. I've got Grundy at 7 as well.
There
So
we go.
that's all.
Nice. Oh, cool. My number 7 is Paddy Ryder. And Paddy Ryder, he's an All-Australian. He won a Best and Fairest as well. Was a really solid contributor over 3 teams. Like, even in the later part of his career for the Saints, was a gun. He won an Anzac Day medal as well. So I was going to ask you guys this. Do you guys value those medals, like the random game medals? I think the Anzac Day one you do. I think the Norm Smith you do. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I think so. The really big games, big crowd, if you stand up, then there is something to be said about it. But the thing about putting too much weight in it is it can be a little bit of an anomaly because it's just like one game a year. If some guy just has, an amazing performance out of nowhere and wins it, so I don't know how much you can take for it, but I think you put value on it, but just not lots of weight.
Fair enough. Maybe more so than Norm Smith, if anything.
No, definitely Noel Smith.
Yeah. Norm Smith, I think's in a league of its own as a medal. Just to be best on ground in a grand final. It doesn't get much better than that, but I think there's something to be said. Like when all the lights are on and big crowds and stuff, if you are the one stepping up, I think especially if you've won it multiple times, that's really impressive.
Yeah,
for me.
that's true. And if you win in the big ones, like I remember a couple of years ago, Darcy Parish, or maybe it was even last year, won like all of the medals, like Anzac Day medal, all like 3 or 4 of them in that year.
Yeah, what was the other one? The Dreamtime?
Dreamtime.
Yeah.
Whatever other ones there were, he won like all of them.
Depends how you win it as well. I guess if you win it just because you had 35 touches and you do that, half the year, if you're a gun midfielder, it's like, whatever. But if you've stepped up and kicked a couple goals as well and actually had a match-winning performance, I think, you can really put a lot of stock in that at the end of the day. So,
All right, my number 6 is the guy who you guys mentioned earlier, and that's Brodie Grundy. And I think with Grundy, so it's 2 All-Australians and 2 Best and Fairest, both at Collingwood, right? The thing with him, I actually think he's probably still the same guy as that Brodie Grundy, but it's just that he couldn't fit in at Collingwood because of the massive contract. He just didn't fit their structure anymore. They needed to allocate that money differently. And now he's playing with Gawn, so he can't really flesh out the, his ability. It's kind of a shame because, he's up there. He's right up there with Gawn in my eyes when it comes to the ruckman.
Well, I think he's outperforming him this year.
Yeah, well, there you go, man.
do you think now that Melbourne's done this move, and let's be honest, as of recording right now, they're not playing the greatest footy this year. They're still getting the wins most of the time and still pretty high up on the ladder. But you reckon they reassess that? Move on? Definitely not Gawn. So
I kind of think having 2 really great ruckmen is a bit of a waste. I don't know.
I think it depends how much money they have to pay of the contract as well, because you don't want to have, like, say, 2 million on 2 rucks. That's crazy. You know what I mean?
It's not really a wise allocation of...
If that million is a superstar mid, you prefer that every time that they...
Absolutely, man. I think they should try. Another team
they can't sell their captain though, right? They can't sell Gawn.
No,
so
no.
there has to be Grundy.
Yeah, maybe there's another team who needs a ruckman that might, try to get Grundy. I don't know who that'd be, but I want to see him at his best again one day. That'd be nice. But anyway, that's my pick 6. Georgie.
My pick 6 is actually Brad Oddens.
Hey, there you go.
So a bit of like just a callback one. Another ruckman that I remember from my youth. Back in my Supercoach teens back in the day. Triple premiership player. So you said in like the golden era of Geelong. So he didn't play. He still played over 200 games and kicked a lot of goals, but inconsistent at times with injury and stuff. But at his best was quite a strong ruckman.
Nice, man. At 6, I've got Paddy Ryder. So we spoke about him a little bit before. I just have this image of him just being really fun to watch. Like when he went forward, he would always make an impact. Some of his taps, I remember there was that one when he was at Port, and he sort of tapped it behind his back, and Robbie Gray, yeah, kicked the winning goal. Like stuff like that. It's like, man, that was fun. Like what a great
was
player.
his All-Australian year.
Yeah. He was fantastic, and did it over a few teams, and every team, had him, and when they had him, they were better for it. So
I reckon he was fan favourite for every one of those teams that he played at as
Yeah.
well. Like, you just loved watching Ryder do his thing. It was very similar to Nick Nat, the closest thing we had to Nick Nat, who I'm sure if he's not in your top 5, lads. If he's not in your top 5, lads, I'm fighting you all live on the
Matsa
pod.
loves to fight people that he believes are in the top 5.
Yeah, no, mate. We can't have another midfielder pod situation, Dino.
we're not bringing this up again. All right. So at 5, now this one here between 5 and 4, I was tossing up, but I'm going to go Goldstein here at 5.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, this guy here, Goldstein, I think let's mention firstly, hitouts, one of the best of all time. Like in numbers wise, he is.
He has the highest hitouts. Of
But
any
even in
player
terms of
ever.
like impact of the hitouts, he's just being great at it, not just getting it. And even really underrated, his quick hands. Like he's a slow guy, but his hands are quick. Probably that basketball background as well,
Yeah,
helping
that
there.
basketball background. That's it.
Yeah, look, as a North fan, this guy, he's been in my whole memory of watching North, pretty much, he's been there, aside from the first few years when there was Matthew Burden. So believe it or not, he was still in my memory.
And,
but,
and McIntosh as well.
Hamish, who could forget him, but it wasn't to be for long term. But yeah, Goldie's just come in. He's been there through and through, and still there, still our best ruck. They might throw Jerry in, in the back half of the year and give him another chance. But North fans look at that and say, until Goldstein can't run anymore, he's going to be our best ruckman because he's that good.
Absolutely.
Love the guy.
And good around the ground as well with Goldie. He can he takes a few marks. He, uses, again, quick hands. He uses it well. A randomly good kick.
And that,
considering how unco he looks.
True. And that game against Geelong in the elimination final when he marked the ball to win us the game, basically, in defence.
That's one of the highlights of
Mate, that was forget Leo Barry,
as a
mate.
North
Forget
fan.
Leo Barry's mark. That was our Leo Barry moment.
That was man. That was crazy.
Loved it.
Beautiful, mate. So number 5, this is where I've got Nick Nat.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean, the only reason Nick Nat's not a little bit higher is because of how injury prone he's been throughout his whole career. So when he's been up and firing, he's the best ruck of that year. And, talk about athletic, talk about just powerhouse. And this is another example of a ruckman that is super talented and super mobile getting drafted early, right? Sometimes you have to remind yourself and go back to like his highlights when he was younger of him just pulling the ball out of the ruck and just bursting forward and kicking goals, like ridiculous stuff. Just haven't seen him in such a long time. And it's on talent and impact on games. He's there, but yeah, it's just a shame that his career has been interrupted by so much injury.
One of the big what ifs with Nick Nat.
Yeah,
he could have been a premiership
could have been the
player.
greatest ever ruckman.
I agree.
If he'd been consistent, yeah,
He's definitely the most athletic ruckman that's ever played the game, by far. All these guys on the list are fantastic, but he's just
no ruckman's had the power that he's had. No,
and like you said, yeah, sprinting away from packs. His hit outs to advantage were fantastic as well
because of just how athletic, how high he jumped.
Basically, one Pritis the Brownlow.
Yeah, true. The thing I find crazy is that West Coast are the worst team at the moment of all time, right? Like one of the worst teams of all time. Apart from wasn't there there was a university team, university whatever, back in the old VFL days, right? They're so bad, but they've been blessed the last 20 years with some really high level
they've had amazing
talent.
ruckman, yeah.
And but not just ruckman, just in general. So it's kind of
but they've been a successful team. Don't forget.
Yeah,
won
that's
2
what I'm
flags.
getting at. They've been blessed and they've been successful. Apart, it's just it's weird to think that the team who's been so bad right now were just so dominant.
And to your point, they've won a flag in each of the last 3 decades:
Oh,
90s, noughties, the 10s.
One of the few teams who's probably done that, to be honest.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to have a look at the stats, but that's probably might be the only team who's done it.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
No, I like it, George.
maybe Sydney as well. They won one in the 90s.
We beat them in one flag in 96.
We did, but I don't know. Did they win another one?
Can't remember.
Not sure. Anyway, so is it mine?
Number 5.
You're
Number
right,
5 for me. So this is where I've gone. Big boy, sandy balls.
It's Sandy Pants, man.
Sandy pants, whatever they call him, mate. Probably going to get demonetized for that, the whole balls comment. Not that we get
Demonetized?
Not that we get paid. Not that we get paid.
What money are you getting, bro?
Yeah, nah. I'm getting some on the side. Don't worry. Nah,
He gets his 20 cents for a candle at church every week.
that's too bad. Nah, with Sandilands, man, he was just crazy to watch, man. Just this giant of a man out there on the football field, man. He made the hit outs just look easy. You know what I mean? It was a bad day in the office to whoever played against him. Yeah, you look like you have something to say, Georgie.
No. Sandilands is... that's a bit low for Sandilands, I reckon.
Fair
that's
enough.
fair.
Hey.
Get out of it.
No, it's fair.
Look, the guys who I have above him, I like them more.
Well, George
It's a really personal list, to be honest with you.
George did famously say on the main pod a few weeks ago that Sandilands was his favourite player of all time as a
I
kid.
didn't say favourite. I said one of my favourites.
Pretty sure he said the favorite.
No, I reckon you made it out as if like he was
Look,
like top 3 at the easy.
Well, you know
You
what?
said I think you said you preferred him to like Sam Walsh or something crazy like that. Like
You guys need to go back and watch that episode and
I
not put
will.
words
I'm
in
pretty
my
sure
mouth.
you said
Nah.
first it's Sandlands, then Judd.
That's the thing that you did. I feel like you said, "Oh no, you know Judd's not my favorite player of all time."
But
you
he's
said
not.
it.
He's not.
Yeah, but then it's like
Why should Judd be my favorite player of all time?
Because you're a Carlton supporter.
Yeah, that's what I don't like that, man. I don't like just because it's Carlton that your Carlton players have to be a favorite.
Yeah, but the thing is, like,
I
for us,
liked
it's
Pendlebury more than Judd at the time.
that's
blasphemous.
It's not blasphemous.
Hey, you had a
That is-
Brownlow
that
medalist
is.
on your team and you liked another guy
Jewel
better.
Brownlow medalist.
Jewel
See, look at you. Anyway, all right.
Good email.
Who's
What are we up
next?
to?
So wait, you said your
it's
5, yeah?
Me now, yep. So
No,
Wait.
you just said number 4.
That was
Oh.
that was my number 5. Sandy was my number 5.
Oh,
Have you said your 5?
yeah, Nick Nat.
Nick, no, you said your 5. All right, so now I go 4 and we come back around. My 4 is big man Toddy Goldstein. That's where I've got him. I bumped
Nice.
him up a bit higher because of the North Melbourne bias, honestly. Won an All-Australian, won a best and fairest for us, most hit-outs of all time. And honestly, he would have more All-Australians, more accolades if he wasn't playing in the same era as Gawn and as Jacobs. There was better ruckmen. You know, I feel like there was some really good ruckmen during his time.
and I need to watch some tape on Jacobs.
So, you know, what? Jacobs wasn't the right person to say because he didn't take any All Australians from Goldie. But like, I feel like yeah.
Man's like some of the greatest of all time. Judd, Gary Ablett, Sam Jacobs.
I must have been hibernating through the Jacobs era. I've got
you
no
weren't,
memory
mate.
of the guy.
You was asleep, bro.
I was. Clearly.
Jacobs was good. Very good.
Yeah, nah. Suss some source highlights.
I'll
mate.
suss it out completely, man.
What's it called? So anyway, Goldstein. Yeah, he's up there. Yeah, no, he's provided me with a lot of joy as a North supporter. So yeah, he's number 4.
Love it.
All right. Number 4, I've got Max Gawn. Yeah.
Whoa.
At 4.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, there's got to be room
Whoa.
for Sanderlands, mate.
All right,
So-
go. Justify yourself.
Well, the other guys I just have there just because I love them more.
Because I love them more.
But I said there's no science to this list.
Fair. Just vibes
look,
only.
Max Gawn is the best
And
ruckman.
you're about to judge me for the Sanderlands pick. Look at you, mate.
Bro,
Gawn at
you wait to
4.
see where I've got Sandy, mate.
Gawn needs to be top 2 in my eyes.
Yeah, he probably
He
look,
needs to be.
He is one of the. He's the best ruckman of the last 10 years, right, of our time. But and premiership captain, superstar. Went to my high school. Brownie points for that.
There you go, man.
I just like the other guys above him, man. That's all.
Fair enough, man. It is a vibes list for the most
It's
part.
100% vibes.
Yeah,
list.
yeah. There's a little bit of science, but not much. It's just
Very little science.
yeah, very little science on this list.
Um,
Very little data involved. It's just
I think because we say the last 20 years, I like to think back as well to the players who've had long careers. I mean, Gawn is still playing. Some of these other players are like Goldie's like 60. And, like Sanderlands is probably 60 as well now. So,
fair enough.
fair enough, man. Well, at 4, I've got Sandilands. So, did I say him already? No, I didn't. Sandy for me, look, this
Is that
guy.
4, yeah?
Yeah,
Is it
4.
4,
Yeah, we're good. Sandy for me, I mean, you just think back to the guy and he was just so big, but so good. That's the crucial thing.
so consistent, man.
There's been really tall ruckmen in the past. Like I mentioned Matthew. Did I mention Matthew Burden before? Maybe that was off air. Matthew
Yeah,
Burden.
no, you did mention Matthew Burden, yeah.
This guy was huge, yeah, but he didn't he was uncoordinated and he was clearly just there because he was huge. Sandilands was huge, but he was really good. His hands were clean. He could mark. He was a goal threat when he parked at full forward. For me, this guy, man,
But you just made me think of Robbie Warnock from Carlton. He was 2'11".
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's been big guys
I
before.
forgot that guy even exists.
Yeah.
But he's just big.
Yeah.
Not good.
I did see him at the airport.
I've seen him at the supermarket.
Oh, there you go,
Above
man.
the
Yeah.
shelves, man.
Yeah, he was big, and I'm like, this guy must be someone, and I
Wait,
figured it out.
Did you ask him to get something from the top shelf? Man?
I didn't need anything from there, man.
Yeah, no.
He couldn't hear me from up there.
He couldn't do it. Fair
What's
enough.
the weather like up there?
But yeah, he was just obviously a really good footballer. He's hit us to advantage just due to how much time and space he had. It was just always elite. So what a player!
See, I think that the thing with Ruckman is that this dude, what is he was he 211 or 214 centimeters or something? Can you imagine having to run a full AFL game with that amount of weight?
He just walked, man. That's the thing about him. He kind of had the Fat Albert vibe, where he could just walk and get his way wherever he wanted, mate. I've never seen.
Speedwalk.
Oh yeah, he almost like could manipulate time. Sandlands.
No, fair enough, man. He's fuck.
Go watch highlights of Sandlands. They're all him walking around.
And then watch highlights of Fat Albert and then compare the two.
That's right.
Has there been an Albert in the AFL? There must have been. Well, I can't think of it in our area because Albert's a very like
That's crazy.
you know what I mean? Like Albert's not a very popular name. It should be.
If there was one Albert though, he'd be really good.
I reckon. Yeah.
There's no way you got an Albert that is bad.
Yeah, and the thing is, his name is so close to Ablet. You know what I mean? So surely Albert.
I haven't heard that name.
Or maybe he's like a
years.
bad cousin of his.
Shout out to the Alberts out there watching the video right now.
If you're an Albert, like and comment. We've got your back, man. And try to become an AFL footballer so we can get more Alberts in there.
And you probably remember the Alberts in the AFL, so let us know.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You know what? I'm gonna do a little quick search of AFL Alberts
Right.
as you guys
While
continue with this.
while you're searching that, my number 3 is Nick Nat. So we mentioned him before. I won't go on too much about it, but I think back as well, man, that one game where he took a specky in the goal square against North, and I'm just like, man, this guy, you just knew he was going to mark it. They kicked it up. They set it to him in the square. You just knew he was going to mark it because he was that good. And his ruck work, elite.
It's a shame that we're probably not going to really even see him again.
Well, even when he did...
Where has he been?
Was it last year or the year before where he was back for parts of the year and he was still really good?
Yeah.
Even minus the explosive athleticism, he's still one of the best rucks. If he was to be fit suddenly this week, you wouldn't have many over him. So for me, yeah, Nick Nat, top 3.
My number 3 is Toddy G.
Hey,
So I got Toddy G higher than you guys,
That's
man.
Respect.
that is big respect. That's crazy.
I feel bad now.
There's something about, and you'll know why like Gorn was number 4. There's something to me about the longevity of a ruckman that I just love. And this guy, how is he still playing, bro? And how is he still so good? I don't get it.
That's the thing. He's still the best ruckman on, I'd say, at least 5 to 10 teams in the AFL right now. Maybe more.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think. Name ruckmen who are better than him right now. Gorn, Grundy, Sean Darcy, Jackson,
English, Marshall,
probably Briggs.
Wits.
I know that's about 8 there, right? That means he's still good enough to be on like a lot of lists.
Well, he walks into Geelong's team,
Yep.
Hawthorn's team, Eagles, obviously.
But I actually think over the last couple of years he's gotten better than he was. Like, as in, like he was higher, then he had a bit of a slump, but then he's come back up again.
Yeah, he's had a little bit of a resurgence.
Yeah.
A little bit, but like, yeah, no, he made his best. Wow. He was really up there with Gorn.
So just giving him credit for how long he's been in the game, most hitouts, how dominant he's been. Like, there's been times where he had like 70 hitouts in a game, you know what I mean? So that's why I've got him number 3.
I've done a little bit of research on Alberts before I get to my number 3. We had Albert Proud, who played 29 games between 2007 and 2010 for Brisbane. Another one who's popped up is Albert Thurgood. Look at this old photo of him, man.
Why do I know who's going to be redhead?
Yeah, is that right?
Because Thurgood played for Hawthorn at one point and he was a redhead. It's probably his relative.
Might be his babu or something. What's some? Nah, so it says he's considered one of the great champion players of the VFA and VFL, and possibly the longest place kick of any code in history. What is that? Place kick? Described as an ideal footballer. So there you go. Shout out to Albert.
Man's wrote his own Wikipedia page. Let's be honest.
That's him.
Ideal. I wonder what the ideal footballer was back then.
Yeah, well,
It was Albert.
Yeah, it was Albert. It says he played at centre half forward, but his skill and versatility enable him to be switched to any position on the ground. So it sounds like he was a bit of a gun, to be honest with you. VFA leading goal kicker, VFA premiership player, mate. Shout out the leading goal kicker for Essendon for 5 years, mate. Albert Thurgood, mate. We had an Albert, and he was very good.
Maybe he should, if we extended the list to 19, whatever that is.
Yeah, I know.
He'd be on it, man.
This dude played. Let's see, when was his career? From 1892 to 1906.
Wow.
We need more Alberts, man.
Man saw the Carlton 3-peat.
Look, if we but if we run out of pod ideas for the off-season, we're going to rank the ruckman from 1890 to 1910.
Wow, man.
Shout out to Albert Thurgood, mate. All right, my number 3, finally, is Nick Nat. So Nick Natanui, he's gone above Sandy and he's gone above Goldie. And so 3 All-Australians, 2 best and fairest. The thing with Nick Nat, it's just the entertainment of the fella. Like that, we won't have moments like that probably ever again. from Nick Nat. So, he had to go up there. It was it was the vibes really with him that pushed him up. And again, shame about his injuries. One of the biggest what ifs in football if he, was able to play a full career, and how good could he have been. So Nick Nat goes number 3, and then I go to my number 2, don't I?
Yes.
What's with the cheeky smile?
I have Dean Cox at number 2.
Oh,
Ooh, who's number 1 then?
be gone.
He'd be gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No,
so
fair enough.
Dean Cox at number 2. We all remember how good he was. He was the guy who was considered the 5th midfielder for West Coast, and he was, feeding Cousins, Judd, Kerr, Priddis towards the end of his career. Man,
With a punda.
a bit,
Hey.
yeah,
We're
with a
panda.
punda, punda. I like the punda.
Daniel Chick.
Daniel Chick, man. They had crazy.
Ashley
midfield.
Embley.
Andrew Embley.
Andrew Embley.
Andrew
Ashley
Embley was,
Sampy,
he was the
Andrew
norm.
Embley.
Darren Glass?
Yeah,
no,
mate.
Darren Glass is defender.
No,
Still
he was
fed
the
him.
defender.
Still
But
fed him.
Andrew Embley was the Norm Smith.
Yeah, bro.
Man, he wasn't that good, but he won a Norm Smith though.
He was pretty good, man.
He was
a
solid, man.
utility.
Yeah, exactly. So Dean Cox, 6 All Australians, Premiership player. Here's the interesting thing about him, right? You would have thought that this dude was like a top 10, top 5 national draft pick. Dude was in the 2000 rookie draft. How does a man with that much ability?
But what did Gawn go? Gawn was a low pick as well.
Yeah, but Gawn was in the national draft. He was in the 30s. But this dude wasn't even in the national draft.
Goes
He
to
ended up
show
being-
what they were looking for in Ruckman back then probably wasn't someone who, I don't know, but his movement around the ground probably was looked at a bit weaker, maybe. He was probably a
Who knows?
project player at the time.
Yeah, maybe his tap work wasn't as good at the time, but he was, because you would imagine he would have still been mobile at the time, or maybe he wasn't. Maybe he never had the fitness for it at that time.
Probably,
But
yeah.
From my little bit of research, it said that he won a VFL, well not VFL, a waffle premiership with East Perth. So obviously he must have dominated the year because he was drafted at 19. He must have dominated a year as an 18-year-old and then came into the league and rest is history.
Great player.
Beautiful. My number 2?
Yep.
Aaron Sandilands, baby.
Hey.
Oh, he's put him up there.
Yeah, I'll put him up there. I mean, we joke about it, but he's probably my favourite ruckman. And again, I've said it. I probably sound like a bit of a broken record, but something about those ruckmen that were just there forever. Aaron Sandilands was the starting ruck in my Supercoach team my whole teenage years, man.
Oh, wow.
But there's something about that for me. There's something about the consistency, the solid nature of just Sandilands. You know he'll perform for you. He just played consistent football. He always played well. He never got beat. He's the GOAT, man.
He's the guy.
Number 2 on my list. He's the guy.
He's the GOAT. And the thing is I just love, when I was thinking about Sandy Pants, man, he just keeps going Sandy Pants. So I'll put him there, man.
Love it, man. Perfect.
And the best part is when he retired, he's like, what are you going to do now? I'll be a gardener. Sandlands is a gardener, everybody.
There you go.
Imagine him rocking up to clean your
Imagine
gutter.
him bending down on his knees and doing
Forget
gardening
bending down.
things.
He's cleaning my gutters, mate, without a ladder.
Yeah, true. He's just like,
He has to do like a height risk assessment just for existing.
Oh, unreal, man. Yeah, love it, George. At number 2, I've got Maxi Gawn. So for me, he's been the best ruck in my lifetime, to be honest, that I've been watching, more of a teenager and adult. Think back to that premiership year they had, man. He was winning games with them with match-winning performances, like goals, pure dominance. Like, you could not stop this guy. And it led directly to winning, which is rated more than anything, especially with rucks. Like, oftentimes in the premiership teams, the ruckman's sort of like really solid, but not spectacular. But a few of these guys on the list, like Cox, Gawn, are genuine match winners on premiership teams. So, pure dominant guy. And that brings me to my number 1, which is Dean Cox. So, probably my earliest football memories was watching. First, it was the Brisbane Collingwood Grand Finals, but then it was Eagles Swans. And this guy, he was just a force, man. Like, he was stuffing the stat sheet and just pure dominance. And what a team he was part of as well. Like, the success for me just wins it over Gawn. I know Gawn's won one flag as well, but he's done it for longer. I think he does probably go down in most people's eyes as the best ruckman. So had to have him there.
I think for like our generation, Cox last 20 years, one of the greatest of all time. I feel like if you go back further, people used to say, was it Polly Farmer? Was like the GOAT, or what's his name was also really good. Jim Steins was also a really good ruckman, but like, I guess we're not really going to that's another era. Like, how are we going to remember?
I think that's why we decided to make the list from now, right? Because at least we have some memory, even when we were kids.
Yeah. But shout out to those old, ruckmen that'll be in their 50s and 60s now. they get their flowers as well, mate.
Oh yeah,
The ruckman of the 70s and 80s.
absolutely, man.
I think they were different beasts back in the day, mate.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like when they did everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got Coxie number one as well. I don't know. It's just like, you know, when you get told something from your parents when you're a kid and you just kind of believe it for the rest of your life. Like if you have wet hair and you go outside when it's cold, you get sick. I think that's like cap.
You'll catch a cold.
That must be cap.
That's
man.
cap, right?
Yeah. So that's why you're wearing the beanie. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
Yeah, there
he's-
you go.
He had
There you
wet hair and he's wearing a beanie, man. And even though he knows it's cap, he's still like, just in case.
Yeah, who knows, man?
Yeah.
Maybe it was true. So it's one of those things where like I just kind of understood that like Cox was the GOAT back in the day. And I just still kind of think that he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
So he's the GOAT, done. That's just simple maths, bro.
Fair enough. Well, look, so that leading to my number one, it's Maxi, right? So the thing with Maxi, so he has pretty much the same accolades as Dean Cox, right? Both had 6 All-Australians. Gawn had 2 best and fairest to the one at that Dean Cox had. Both premiership players. Gawn was a premiership captain, right? And Gawn still has a few more years to win a couple more premierships before the end of his career. So I think I've kind of gone based on the fact that Gawn's not done yet, is why he's number one. And the thing with Gawn, it's probably a bit of recency bias as well, but I just love the way you can put him forward. He'll clunk a mark. I love the way they have him running around the back. They don't get him to be the ruck in the forward line. They will get whoever else it is, Tom McDonald, Brodie Grundy, Van Rooyen these days, probably whoever. They'll do that role, and then he'll be just running around the half back line, you know, the wing, just waiting to just clunk a couple marks.
He's
That
great
I
around
just,
the ground. He's
yeah,
great around the ground.
I just love that, you know, and I think that's, you know, credit to Melbourne and their coaching staff for actually utilizing him to the best of his abilities, because not many players get that opportunity to really, you know, flesh it out and be the best that they can be. And Gawn's had that opportunity. He's been like, as much as I love Goldie, Gawn's been the guy. Gawn's been the guy the last 10 years.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd love Gawn as well. Like, I know everything you said is very true. Like, they do use him in pretty clever ways these days, but something just, a part of me wants to just see him be the sole ruck, just dominate. Like, because he's playing a really selfless role at the moment as well. Like, I do respect it,
No,
but
he's definitely selfish role, man.
Yeah.
He could be tearing it apart.
that's the thing. Like, I respect it massively, but part of me is just like, man, you're so special. Just, you know, take 80% of the ruck and just dominate.
Our
But
Supercoach teams would enjoy it as well.
they would love it.
160s every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
Yeah.
But no, good fun list. I mean, did you guys have any interesting omissions that you had?
Well,
Like-
I didn't have Paddy Ryder. What you guys have?
Look, I think I didn't have Ottens or Lade or any of those kind of older guys because I didn't really vibe having him on my list so much.
Yeah,
just
fair
because I don't know, I'm a bit younger than you guys.
I wanted to
I don't
shout
know
out
if,
a few guys that
Yeah, just for the fun.
bit of a laugh, mate. It's
Yeah.
not even like I considered them for my
My
list.
list is a bit of a piss take, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put it.
Mine, see, I've got a few names here, not really guys I was considering for my list at all, but just like a few funny throwback names. All right, so Matthew Lumberger, remember him?
Hey, yeah.
Matthew Lumberg could have been anything as well.
Could
A
have
lot of
been.
these rucks just never got the
Remember,
opportunity, you know.
what about Josh Fraser? Remember him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
How can you forget?
Within 20 years ago, Luke Darcy was still playing, but he was on the back end.
David Hill
David Hill, yeah.
was a great ruckman as
Very
well
great
for
ruckman.
the Dons back in the day.
There was that one year where Bont was third ruck up. So shout out that.
Oh,
Hey,
Sean
it's
Grigg. We forgot about Sean
Sean
Grigg.
Grigg.
Premiership
Oh,
ruck.
he should have
third
been top
ruck.
5.
That would have been such a funny
These
pick.
guys changed Bont and Grigg changed the AFL's rules of a third man up.
Yeah,
That's
the
how
thing is,
dominant they were.
Mitch-
Grigg
Owens?
wasn't even third man up.
Was
'cause
it?
Grigg
Oh,
just played.
he was
in
just
the-
playing ruck.
He was just the backup ruck. It's like, no, we
They
don't want.
just said stuff. We're not going to win clearance anyway. Just
Yeah,
put him in
true.
there.
The second ruck is usually pretty crap. So it's
Yeah.
just like, we'll just chuck Griggy in there.
I love it.
Yeah.
What about Sean Hampson?
Sean Hampton, yeah.
Ivan Maric?
Ivan. Hey,
Mullet
you
man
know what?
marriage.
Ivan maybe should have gotten a little shout for the list.
Hey, shout out as well.
Was he a premiership player?
He probably was.
Was he?
He would have been, yeah. Yeah, for
Ooh.
sure. I'll tell you.
I can't remember.
I don't know if I thought Nate Curvis came in 17 and
Yeah, I'm going to have a look.
Maric didn't win it.
I'm going to have a little look. But Marriage was he was a
I'll tell you who
beast.
did win a premiership. David Hale. He won a premiership.
David
David
Hale.
Hale.
He probably deserved a bit.
Was he the first Hawks one?
The thing is, that's funny. Like, he wasn't a great player, but that Hawthorn team was so dominant. Him resting forward was a genuine problem because you couldn't take your eyes off Roughhead, Gunston, Franklin. So he genuinely was a nuisance, man. He was so good.
You know, Marriage retired in 2017.
Yeah.
So he kind of just had.
He got superseded.
Yeah, he did the hard yards, not make any finals.
He
and
walked
then-
so none could fly.
But you know,
That's it.
my favorite marriage memory is in 2013 elimination final against Carlton. He kicks the goal in the last quarter and absolutely like loses his mind. He's like Mullah is flying everywhere. He's like, he's going crazy, and they lost that game.
Is that the one where he's kind of going like that? He kind of that's
I
the
think
movement
so.
I can picture is just a dude doing this.
He kicks a goal on the
And
run.
his mullet's flying.
Yeah, he loses his mind, mate. Like he's
Yeah.
up and about. Yeah, we're back in it. No, you won't, mate.
No, you won't. Nah.
What about Justin Kazitsky?
Yo.
But was he was a
Oh.
ruck. I think of him as a forward, but he probably was a ruck,
He
wasn't he?
was playing quite a bit of ruck. I can't remember the
Yeah,
split, but he
man, I
definitely
think-
rucked at points.
Man, that I can't spell his name to search him up. I'm pissed. I didn't think of Kozzy, man. Kazitsky was such a gun. He would have definitely made my list if I thought of him.
He didn't.
Yeah.
I think I looked him up recently, and I just ran him, and it was hard for me to spell his name as well. But he didn't play a lot of games, Kuziski.
Yeah, he had a lot of concussion
his-
injuries.
so it's
and stuff like that.
Justin, because if I put Justin
Kosch.
oh, here we go, it comes
Yeah.
up. Justin Kazitsky. I couldn't search up his last name. It's Koshitsky. That's a crazy name, bro.
Koschitske.
Koshitsky. He didn't do his career highlights. They don't give him much love there.
But he was very good when he was fit.
Maybe he was more of a forward rock. But nah, man, Kozzy, man, that's a very that was a good little throwback there, man.
I've got good
That's-
memories of this stuff.
yeah,
What about
that's-
Matthew Primus? Remember him?
See, I don't remember Primus
No,
that
I don't
much.
remember him either.
That's see, Dean's showing his age there.
What about
Old
who was the
fella.
ruckman for Brisbane during their premierships? Keating. Clark Keating?
What about Stefan Martin?
Yeah, he was all right.
Stefan Martin had a few dominant years, man.
Yeah.
And dude's jacked, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
See why the ruckman list just the most fun list, man. I love ruckman.
I gotta say, Matthew Cruiser, man, another massive what if. This guy,
yeah.
Who was the bigger what
actually,
if?
that is a bigger what if, yeah.
Bigger what if Matthew Cruiser or Hamish McIntosh?
definitely Cruiser there. Come on, man. Don't
But
insult
you
me.
need to rewind the clock. You're not knowledgeable enough on
Mate,
Hamish, mate.
mate, he's sleeping on Hamish.
Big H.
I'm definitely. He was in my Supercoach team at one point, so respect for that.
Everyone had Hamish and got burnt by him at least once. Oh, good. I think that's enough fun for now,
Yeah,
boys.
that's
Yeah, that was a good one.
let us-
Honestly, I didn't expect that the Ruckman
It's the best
pod
one.
would
Man.
be the most fun, but that was very fun.
Sandylands is the goat, bro.
Sandler's
Sandler's the goat, but second on your
But
list.
second on his list.
Oh man, thanks everyone for watching and listening. Please leave a sub and like the video. If you've got any ruckman, just a throwback, or if you have a different opinion on your list, let us know. But
Yeah, tell us your favorite Ruckman. Let us know. If you've made it to the end, you got to tell us your favorite Ruckman of all time.
actually, one more before we go. Will
Yeah.
Minson,
Will Minson, yeah, man.
Bro,
just
who's that, man?
What?
the
You know-
doggies.
Will Minson.
Surely you know Will Minson. Just search up
Actually, I
Will
do
Minson, the
remember.
guy with the curly
Yeah,
hair.
I remember.
Search up.
Wow, that's a callback.
Search up Will Minson getting sprayed by Rodney Eade.
Yeah, it's
Have
one
you
of the
guys?
best videos.
That
ever.
is honestly goat video.
All right,
we're
we're
gonna show you after this. Bro.
We're
Don't
ending
worry.
the pod and we're gonna watch that video. You probably will do the same now as well.
All right,
Thanks everyone. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.
catch.